You bow, but before you can speak, the man suddenly introduces himself as the village headman. He laughs, then shamelessly praises his own village as being wondrous and peaceful. "And who are you?" he asks. After explaining that you are on a quest to defeat the dragon, the headman invites you to rest your feet a bit in his village. He says that he had heard rumors of the dragon when he traveled the world. "You must be tired from your journey. Have a seat. I will have my chef prepare a feast," the headman says, then claps his hands twice to summon a stewardess. Extravagant dishes that you have never seen before are placed on the table before you, each one looking more delicious than the last. "You're drooling," Melanie scowls. You hadn't even noticed. You wipe your mouth with your sleeve, then gasp as you turn to Mar. Perhaps in an attempt to hold himself back, Mar is gnawing on the table corner. There, we'll eat soon," you reassure Mar while gently stroking his head. The doors fly open in the next instant, and a girl runs in. With tears in her eyes, she tells you that her dear companion Mr. Flobby the Slime is missing. The headman's eyes go wide in surprise. "We must find that slime right away," he says anxiously. You are starving, but it doesn't look like you'll be able to partake of the feast before you because of Mr. Flobby's disappearance. "We will find your slime, and then we feast," you add quietly. Melanie reminds you that you are here to get clues about the dragon from the headman. What's the difference? Literally everything. Hunger taking its toll, you two begin to argue. "Brave heroes," the headman interjects, then bows his head. "Would you please find her slime?" It appears the story has hit a standstill until you find the missing Mr. Flobby. You need to hear the whole story from the young girl. The headman says we must find that slime quickly, or else. It seems like the girl who left the headman's house ran away in tears. The elderly man says she cannot have gone far. The girl sobs, wailing about the missing Mr. Flobby. Melanie places her hand atop the girl's head and promises that your party will find her companion. The girl then hands something to Melanie. It looks like the muddy handkerchief she used to wipe Mr. Flobby. She asks Melanie to wipe Mr. Flobby with it after you find him. The girl claims to have searched the village but cannot find her friend anywhere. Regardless, Looking aimlessly outside the village would be a waste of time. You decide to collect more information in the village. She says she saw a suspicious man in black with a slime outside the village not long ago. She claims they went northwest together. Did that man take Mr. Flobby? You resolve to leave the village in search of the pair. Nice work. Congrats. And fight. You come across two men sitting on a rock. They take no notice of you or the party, but you can hear their fervent discussion. You listen in and deduce that they are a pair of thieves. You lean in, trying to hear what else the thieves are talking about. You catch pieces of the conversation here and there. Listen about that loot. Head south from the harbor and cross the mountains. It sounds like they've just told you where to find their stolen loot. You hastily grab a scrap of paper, write down what you've heard, and quietly sneak away. And fight. What you saw was only an old woman. You and your friends stumble over one another and barrel straight into her. Ow! Someone shouts. Seems like someone met the wrong end of the knife the woman was holding when you collided. I didn't do it, cries the woman, running off without even a hint of remorse. Thunder roars overhead. Watch out for lightning. That one almost hit you. You glance over your shoulder and see Melanie, charred and smoking. An armor-clad knight stands, exuding an extraordinarily powerful aura. The knight faces you and asks, "Might you be challengers?" But after sizing you up for a long moment, his shoulders slump and he mutters, "No, you are not yet ready. Grow strong, young ones," he says, then returns to standing in silence. It appears he awaits a stalwart warrior to challenge him. janky telescope where you found it, and make your way cautiously toward what you saw. Yeah, looks like it was only an old woman. You try to say hello, but she wanders off without even registering your presence. A bizarre rock appeared. It seems primed to explode. The bizarre rock transformed into a gold rock. You come across a gaping hole in the ground. A sign beside it depicts a piece of armor, followed by, "Do not drop this in the hole." It's only human to want to do exactly what you're told not to. However willing you might be, you don't have the armor depicted, so you walk away. "Look, you two, it's the sea," Riddis exclaims, frolicking in glee. You, on the other hand, trudge along as far as you can from the coast, ignoring the hair sticking to your forehead. Feeling something at your feet, you glance down. There's something underneath your boot. It appears you've stepped on a monster's cape, making it very upset. It attacks you in fury. Fortune favors the bold. Nice work. Though a torch is not strictly necessary, it would certainly help you find your way through the dimly lit shrine. Your footing is obscured in the dimness of the shrine. You should probably proceed with caution. I think you made the right choice. You take a good look at the floor and see it lined in trails of viscous liquid. No doubt a slime or 200 have passed through here. It looks like poor Mr. Flobby is being held captive by the Mystery Man. Hand over that slime, you shout to the man in the dark. You speak as if I kidnapped him, he remarks curtly, turning to face you. When your eyes finally adjust to the surrounding darkness, you realize the man's clothes look eerily similar to Melanie's. Melanie's mouth falls open in surprise. It seems the man has noticed Melanie as well. It looks like the two know each other. The man says that he and Melanie came from the same village, where this was their native dress. The man's revelation makes you realize that you know almost nothing about Melanie's past. You ask Melanie about her hometown, but she holds her tongue. Then the man speaks. With forbidden magic, our clan has ensured the dragon, he begins, when Melanie cuts in. She rattles on about the man, telling you that he is Vince, a lunatic obsessed with the dragon. Vince resentfully claims that he is searching for the noble dragon to protect it. You ran away from home with your tail between your legs, he ridicules. Enraged, Melanie lunges at Vince. You have so many questions, but realize that the most pressing matter is getting Mr. Flobby back. So you ready for battle? Careful, he won't go down easy. fight, Vince asks, "Do you know the truth about that village?" The headman may look like a nice old man, but he keeps those little monsters around too, he begins, but before he can finish, Winifred, Hedwyn, and Berwyn of the Ivory Order appear. The three brush you aside, fixing their attention on Vince. "So you are the one who disturbs the peace," they exclaim, then charge at him. The Ivory Order and that false justice they serve are the true evil here, he retaliates, fighting back. Seeing the two parties occupied with each other, you realize this is your chance to grab Mr. Flobby. Vince is on equal footing with the three from the Order. You realize then that he wasn't fighting in earnest against you earlier. Engrossed in their battle, the combatants pay you no mind. Perhaps wary of humans, Mr. Flobby dashes out when you draw near. When you reach out to grab Mr. Flobby, he suddenly attacks. Lower Mr. Flobby's stamina to calm him down. Exhausted from the fight, the raging Mr. Flobby finally stops attacking. But it seems he hasn't yet come to his senses. He glares warily at your party. Find something to help return Mr. Flobby to normal. You wipe Mr. Flobby's mouth with the handkerchief you received from the girl. Then you hear a quiet voice speak. "That's not my mouth," Mr. Floppy murmurs bashfully. It looks like the girl's familiar scent on the handkerchief returned him to normal. Having regained his senses, Mr. Floppy heads back to the village. You place the increasingly sticky handkerchief in your bag. Lappy approaches and tells you that Mr. Floppy has returned. The girl is ecstatic that Mr. Floppy is finally back home. "I'm happy for you," Melanie says with a smile as she returns the handkerchief. The girl bows her head and thanks you deeply. Mr. Floppy looks as slimy as ever. You just hope it's a happy slime. "The headman wants us to bring Mr. Floppy to him. Would you mind?" you ask. "Of course not, but bring him back soon," she answers with a bright smile. "I am so happy to see you safe and sound," the headman exclaims, giving Mr. Floppy a hug. You explain everything that happened, including the incident with Vince and the Ivory Order. He expresses his relief that the Order will be taking care of the criminal. He then thanks you for your hard work and instructs his stewardess to prepare dinner for your party. You can feel your collective mouths watering at the sight of the lavish meal before you. You, Mar, and Ridis immediately dig in. You aren't sure where you find a moment to breathe among all the feasting. "Please, eat to your heart's content," the headman insists with a smile. Once your belly is full, you realize that Mr. Floppy is gone. And then... "Room for dessert?" the headman asks, offering you a plate of slimy jelly. You feel your stomach churning at the very sight of it. The color strikes you as familiar, and the stickiness sends a shiver down your spine. Is this Mr. Floppy?" you ask the headman, your voice trembling in disbelief. The headman looks at you with a plain expression, one that holds no malice. "Is that a problem?" he questions back. "This dish is a masterpiece," he remarks with a light-hearted chuckle as he gazes at the jelly. "And I have you brave heroes to thank for it. Had you not brought that slime back, we would not be able to enjoy this exquisite dessert." "Are you full?" he asks, seemingly concerned at your silence. "It would be a shame to let something so splendid go to waste." You move to leave, but the headman stops you. I try to get my meat while it's still young and tender, but at least your pet is very plump, he remarks, licking his lips. He points at Mar and asks, would you consider leaving that creature here with me? Never, you refuse flatly, not bothering to hide your discomfort. Think about it, he entreats. And then you grab the headman by his lapels, hands trembling in fury. Pummel the headman with all your might. Curled up on the ground, the headman groans in pain, but insists that monsters were meant to be eaten. You hug Mar tightly, reassuring him that you will not hand him over to anyone. Mar looks at you with his round eyes and mews softly. You meet eyes with the rest of your party and reach a tacit agreement. Together, you all stand and leave. As you are about to leave the headman's house, though, the old man suddenly charges at you from behind. But Mar, the keener of you two, is quick to block his path. With a crash, Mar and the headman tumble to the ground. From the headman's hand falls a small blade. It clatters to the ground, covered in blood. You take the injured Mar to an inn where you can watch over him. You gaze at the unconscious Mar with concern. Despite the shallow wound, no amount of medicine seems to rouse Mar from the bed. I heard that my friends were in danger, so I came as quickly as I could, Lappy says. As he reaches Mar's bedside, he leans over and licks his wound. This is what-you-call-it extract, he shouts. He explains that it is a poison extracted from a certain monster. If it enters the body, it drastically reduces one's stamina. Hearing those words, you realize the headman's blade must have been coated in this poison. Mar's condition starts to make sense. Isn't there anything we can do? Melanie asks. Lappy's eyes widen in realization before he places his mouth over Mar's wound and begins sucking. He then puts the what-you-call-it extract into a bottle and hands it to you. Lappy says that if you follow the road south of the village, you will reach Shoreland. He tells you to give the extract to the famous nutritionist there. Realizing that you are at fault for this, you don't hesitate to undertake the quest. But this is strange. The extract comes from a monster, so it should have no effect on one, Lappy remarks with a curious tilt of his head. I thought a beast of that size would eat us out of house and home, she remarks, no doubt talking about Mar. He urges you to hurry on to Shoreland and find the nutritionist. The girl sighs. You're dirty again, she says, wiping a slime's mouth. Mr. Flobby, you're alive, you exclaim in glee. This is Mr. Globby, Mr. Flobby's cousin, she tells you. The girl sighs. You're dirty again, she says, wiping Mr. Flobby's cousin, Mr. Globby. The headman's guilty pleasure of eating monsters has reached the ears of the people, and he has been chased from the village. The man looks sad, saying he cannot believe no one realized he was eating children. My big friend is gone, says the furball sadly, after realizing Mar is nowhere in sight. The indiscriminately wary woman narrows her eyes at your group and says, now that I think about it, you all look suspicious to me. Having no interest in children's picture books, you continue on your way.
And with his 3D heaven, the deals fell its heavy hawk when shutting wall inus to Harimoen, this Sony hand, 3D his hover, listen on, yet from Benius, your Quentalio, your Ventonius, listen on.
A monster appears. Rather, you approach it, because the poor thing's paralyzed from head to toe. You may be able to aid it by administering some curative. You take pity on the creature and administer some curative. Able to move once more, it makes a clumsy attempt at a bow, and then it is gone. Something comes rocketing down from the mountaintop, there and gone in a flash. What was that? Your friends insist it was probably just a rock. But you're convinced it was a monster, and you could prove it. The rock adroitly avoids crashing into anything as it falls. Only monsters can move like that. Your friends breathe a sigh of relief as the monster hurtles ever farther away. Something's catching the sunlight just so. You move closer to get a better look at it. You find a chest lodged in the hollow of a tree. Something about this feels familiar. You fish a note out of your pack. Sure enough, this is the location those thieves mentioned when you were eavesdropping. Quite convinced you've found their stash, you open the chest with a self-satisfied smirk on your face. That was lucky. About the enemy. Nice work. The harbor is closed today. Anyone seeking shoreland should move 3 spaces to the southeast.